All right, good evening, good afternoon, and good morning. Welcome to another undergraduate university webinar presented by the Duolingo English Test. I'm your host, John Nesbitt, and very excited today to be discussing two of the most selective and most well-known research universities in the United States, the University of Chicago and Vanderbilt University. We have actually three more webinars coming up over the next 3 weeks. And so if you're interested in learning more about opportunities and options in Canada, we have a wonderful slate coming up next Tuesday. The following week, one about the Big Ten. And then the last week, there, June 18th, you'll see opportunities to learn more about community colleges or two-year college options and pathways. Quick overview of our agenda today. We'll spend just a couple minutes talking about the Duolingo English Test, and then a little bit about the application process to selective universities inside the United States, as that can be a little bit different from some other application processes. And then we'll get the chance to dive a little deeper into what community and life and academic life is like at the University of Chicago and Vanderbilt University. And we'll wrap up with some questions. Hope that sounds good because we don't have a plan B. So let's get into it. Our two wonderful universities today are located in Chicago, as you probably aren't too surprised to find out, with the University of Chicago and Vanderbilt University, which is located in Nashville, Tennessee. I'll let our wonderful experts introduce themselves and then we'll get started. Annalise.
Hi, hello everyone. My name is Annalise Voorhees. I am an admissions counselor at the University of Chicago, originally hailing from Joplin, Missouri in the Midwest of the United States, and I'm super excited to be here today.
Thanks, Annalise.
Hey, good morning, good evening, wherever you may be. My name is Ethan Dastu, Senior Admissions Counselor at Vanderbilt University. Excited to be with you today and to share a little bit more about Vanderbilt. Thanks to John and the team here at Duolingo for having us.
Thank you both so much for your time and sharing your expertise. Quickly, students, just a quick overview of the Duolingo English Test, the only proficiency test designed for you. And I think the big three characteristics that really stand out for the Duolingo difference is one, the test is accessible. It's available online, on demand, anywhere. There's no testing centers. You completely control when and where you take the test. And so if you're a morning person, take it in the morning. And if that is the opposite of who you are and when you thrive, then take it in the afternoon or evening. But the point is that you'll need to be alone in a room for about an hour to take the test and keep it secure. It's a fast test as it's an adaptive test, so it only takes about an hour, and you get the results back in 2 days. And last but not least, it is the most affordable test out there at a fraction of the price of the other tests. And really important, once you get those results certified, you are not being charged to share those results to other institutions. So we hope that you'll look into taking the Duolingo English tests for the University of Chicago or Vanderbilt, or the close to 6,000 other programs around the world that use the Duolingo English test. I'll pass it back over to our two experts to talk a little bit more about applying to selective universities in the United States. Ethan.
Thank you, John. Yeah, so we're going to kind of talk from a very quick, brief, high-level overview of application review and what the two schools on here today are really looking at when we evaluate your application. So, generally speaking, most highly selective schools are practicing what is known as holistic review. And what that means is there's no one GPA, AP scores, IB scores that are going to automatically qualify you or get you into either of the schools represented here today, and most schools that are highly selective. We really are looking at a wide range of pieces of pieces of materials when evaluating you for admissions. Of course, academics is one piece, and that's what I'm going to talk about with you today. But you can see there are multiple bullet points here, and all of those will play a role in our evaluation. We want students that strike a balance. We're both about to talk about our respective schools. And you'll find that at each of our schools, balance is really important. And we want students that'll come not only be engaged in the classroom, but be engaged outside of the classroom. And that's what we're looking for from you in your secondary school environment. So as far as academic review pertains, transcript, of course, that's going to be important. It's an academic record that's going to show us your performance within the classroom. Generally speaking, we like to see that you're challenging yourself with the courses that you're taking in the classroom. You're taking a sample of some of the more rigorous courses that your school has to offer. So along with this being a holistic review process, it's very context based. So we're going to look at you within your environment. What were the classes? What was the curriculum offered in your school? What that means is we don't have a preference for a certain curriculum when we're evaluating students. We see students that are taking that IB curriculum, the Cambridge curriculum. I mostly work with students in India and South Asia, and we're seeing students, of course, in India taking the Indian national curriculum. So there's a lot of different curriculums. Don't get too caught up in my school only offers this, and this other school across town offers this, and that's not necessarily important to us. We want to see how are you performing within your environment? What were the opportunities and how well did you perform with those opportunities? A school profile is going to be a piece that your counselor or someone at your school puts together that provides us with additional context for your school. What is the curriculum? Maybe what are some of these extracurriculars that are offered? And then testing. I know that's everyone's favorite topic in higher education right now. Some schools have gone back to requiring testing. Some schools are remaining test optional. For example, Vanderbilt has announced they will continue to be test optional through the next two admission cycles. So what I encourage you to do when it comes to testing is just have those conversations with the admissions counselors at the schools that you might be applying to. Stay organized, maybe keep a spreadsheet where you can track what schools are requiring testing, which schools are not. And then also maybe ask the question, what are you looking for when it comes to testing? Is there a general range that a school might be looking for? And that can give you kind of an idea of whether or not to maybe submit scores if they are test optional. So I know that was quick kind of overview of academic review, but happy to answer more questions later on. I'll hand it over to Annalise to talk about the other half of the application review.
Thanks, Ethan. Yeah, so that first academic review is a really important part of the review process, but the second half of the review process, where we get to know you all a little bit better, who you are as people, what you do with your free time, what you might value in a college environment is equally important. Sometimes I like to think about it as asking myself two questions in an application. The first of those is this student going to be successful at this school? The second of those is this student going to be happy at this school? And Ethan kind of went over the things that we look for to determine whether a student will be successful in a particular academic environment, but the rest of these materials do a lot to tell us whether a student will be happy at our school or whether that student will be a good fit for the place that they're applying to. So some more things that you're going to tell us about, usually through your application, which is generically the Common Application, the Apply Coalition application, or there are a few others out there. You're going to tell us a little bit about how you spend your time, your extracurricular activities, your community involvement. We're not looking for anything in particular here. Again, we only want to see that you have taken advantage of opportunities that were available to you. So your activities can look like anything from sports to caring for younger siblings or grandparents to working a part-time job to any kind of passion project that you are taking on. We just want to see what it is you're excited about and what kind of engagement you might bring to our campus environments. The next thing we'll look at on your application are your letters of recommendation. These are going to be letters written by some teachers or community members that you have engaged with. Each school is going to have different requirements as far as who is eligible to write those letters for you and how many of those letters that they will require. So it's a good idea to keep track of these requirements on that spreadsheet as well. But your letters of recommendation are going to come from people who have good relationships with you and can speak to your skills both as students and as community members and tell us a little bit more about who you are in the classroom or whatever environment they have engaged with you with. The rest of the application is going to be the writing that you're going to put together to send to us. So this is the space where you can really work hard and develop your application to show off who you are and how you communicate. The first piece of writing that almost every school, certainly U Chicago and Vanderbilt, are going to look at is your personal statement or your general college essay that you're sending to lots of places. This is going to be just a little bit of background on who you are, a story that is important to understanding you, something core to you that you want to communicate to these schools. Then you will also fill out supplemental essays, which are going to be specific to the schools that you're applying to. So whereas you will create a personal statement for your general college application process, you will also write supplemental essays for each school. Again, each school is going to have different requirements here. UChicago will ask you for 2 supplemental essays. Other places may have more or less. But the important thing here is that you are staying true to your own tone of voice. You are expressing the ideas and opinions and motivations that are unique to you. And you are doing so authentically. And also, importantly, that you are engaging with a specific prompt on these supplemental essays. Each of them is going to ask you to do something a little bit different. Make sure you're paying attention to the question that that school is asking and really making sure you're answering that question. But that's the part of the application where you're really going to flesh out who you are and how you might fit into a particular campus environment, which is why the research stage of building your college list and understanding what makes each school different is really important. So I think next you're maybe going to hear a little bit more about our 2 schools. So yeah, we can kind of start with UChicago here. UChicago, like John hinted at, is in the city of Chicago, which is an amazing place to spend 4 years of your life. It is deeply involved in the community and the surrounding city. University of Chicago is on this webinar and is well known for being a Tier 1 research university, which means there are lots of labs and internships and resources, and there is this institution supporting our students. But the undergraduate experience is a little more humble than that. At our core, we are a small liberal arts college, which means we have a relatively small undergraduate population for a research university. We have about 7,500 undergraduates from all 50 states in the US and over 100 countries. That liberal arts college is really central to the academic experience that a student will engage in, and we'll hear a little bit more about what the curriculum might look like. But in general, we kind of pair that academic experience with over 160 campus research centers and institutes. So lots of opportunities to engage in academic research, pursue internships, and work with different places on campus to really complement your academic experience outside of the classroom as well. We have a 5-to-1 student to faculty ratio, so you will always have an opportunity to take a hands-on role in your learning, develop relationships with your professors, ask questions, and learn more from the peers around you that are just as excited about learning as you are than you probably ever will from a textbook. And 85% of our classes have fewer than 25 students. So again, it's a very interactive liberal arts seminar style experience that you'll receive at UChicago. So the core curriculum is the foundation of that liberal arts education that you will receive at UChicago. Each student is going to take 15 to 18 courses in 8 subject areas: the humanities, social sciences, civilization studies, foreign language, arts, mathematics, physical sciences, and biological sciences. So this means that every single student will explore a little bit about what each of these departments has to offer on campus. Each of our students is part of the college, which is our one undergraduate school. So you have the opportunity to take courses in a really wide variety of subjects. This is an important way that our students figure out what it is they want to study and what it is they're passionate about. Many students will change their mind after trying out these different subjects. And it's a great way that we make sure our students are prepared to be lifelong learners. They get some experience being in environments where they're maybe outside of their comfort zone. They get some really important soft skills like critical thinking and problem solving, and learn how to approach unfamiliar territory with confidence and excitement. Each of these core courses is also going to be 19 students or fewer, so you have the support to get through these maybe more unfamiliar subjects. We also pair that academic experience, that core curriculum, that culture of living the life of the mind and being excited about all of these learning opportunities with some practical resources to make sure that our students are successful after graduation as well. 99% of our recent graduates report some kind of placement on graduation day. So not 6 months after graduation, not a year after graduation, but by the time they leave the UChicago campus, 99% of our students have a job offer, a graduate school acceptance, some kind of fellowship, letting them know where they're going next in life. And this can be in a really wide variety of careers. We have a number of specialized career preparation programs through our Office of Career Advancement that can help students prepare for jobs in business industries or law or finance or education or arts and media and entertainment, or any kind of niche that our students are interested in occupying. Our recent graduates end up in all kinds of career fields all around the world, and there are many opportunities such as our career trucks around the world, our job shadowing opportunities on and around campus, and our Metcalf internships to make sure that students have valuable experience before they leave the UChicago environment. Student life at UChicago is also very vibrant. Our students tend to be involved very heavily and very interdisciplinarily. So if you have a passion, if you have something you are excited about doing outside of the classroom, there are opportunities to do that outside of the classroom at UChicago as well. An important aspect of this is our residential house system. We guarantee housing for all 4 years, so you will always have a place in our dormitories to live at UChicago, and we require housing for 2 years. So every student will live on campus their first and second year, and then have the option to stay engaged in that community or to get an apartment off campus in the Chicago area. We have a house system that we are very proud of, where students build community in those dorms through unique traditions to their house community, fun events throughout the year, free dinners and snack breaks and study breaks, and opportunities for leadership on the house council. We also have over 450 recognized student organizations, which means whatever interest you have, there's probably a group doing it on campus. We say that if there isn't already a group, all you need are 4 friends and a dream. So really, as you're preparing to go to college, take the opportunities to make your student life look how you would like it to look and continue to pursue your interests on campus. But this could be anything from our 20 powerhouse D3 varsity athletic teams to things like our university theater program, our organization for South Asian students, improv troops, a cappella groups on campus. Our students are really doing it all. So as far as applying to UChicago, you have a couple of options. You can send us the common application or the coalition application, as well as all of those materials that Ethan and I detailed a couple of minutes ago. The most important thing to take away from a conversation about UChicago, though, is that we are always there to help if you have any questions. So not only can you learn detailed information about the application process and the campus environment on our website, you can also always reach out to myself, to our general admissions team at collegeadmissions@uchicago.edu, or to any of our current students to learn about their experiences at askastudent@uchicago.edu. Thanks so much for your attention. Again, if you have any questions, we're always here, but that's just a quick overview about UChicago.
Thank you so much, Annalise. Ethan, let's hear a little bit more about Vanderbilt and academic life in Nashville, Tennessee.
All right. Well, thank you again, John. And again, my name is Ethan, admissions counselor at Vanderbilt, and excited to share more about our school. So in telling Vanderbilt's story, I like to provide a little bit of historical context. Vanderbilt was founded in 1873 with a $1 million US dollar donation from Cornelius Vanderbilt. Cornelius Vanderbilt, of course, was this railroad tycoon. He helped found the Staten Island Ferry up in New York, and he provided $1 million back in 1873 to found our school in Nashville, Tennessee. So some fun facts about that story, that $1 million today, if we account for inflation, roughly $26 million. And that was the largest donation in the name of education at the time. Another fun fact is that Cornelius Vanderbilt, our namesake, actually never stepped foot on our campus. Never traveled to the South, rather ironic, of course, because he had plenty of access to transportation. So that is where Vanderbilt got started. And if John, you can click to the next slide, this is where we are sitting at today. So these are 3 values that were put together with students, faculty, staff, our chancellor involved. They all got together and they said, what does Vanderbilt want to stand for? Who do we want to be? And so I always encourage students on this slide to kind of take a mental snapshot. And of course, these values are on our website, and other schools will have these values on on their websites. Because like Annalise talked about, at a certain point, you'll be asked to write supplemental essays. And so I always think that this slide, these values shouldn't necessarily be brushed over, because you can kind of maybe harken back to these values in your response for, say, Vanderbilt's supplemental essay, and then also, of course, look at UChicago's values for their supplemental essays. So as I'm talking through Vanderbilt academics, social, student life, campus, all of that, maybe be thinking back on this slide and kind of what Vanderbilt is standing for. So Vanderbilt's a medium-sized private school located in the Midtown neighborhood, about 3 kilometers or so south of downtown Nashville. A little over 7,000 total undergraduate students, and then another 6,000 or so graduate and professional student body for an overall student body of around 13,000. Again, we fall within that medium size category. 11% international students, 85 countries represented, and 97 citizenships represented. We're always looking to grow those numbers on our campus. So as I mentioned, located in Nashville, Tennessee, which is in the southeastern region of the United States. While we aren't one of the largest cities in the US, we're not in New York or Los Angeles or Chicago. We have access to those cities, but we also have the resources, the opportunities of some of those cities. Nashville is a growing city with a lot of opportunity for our students. And because of where we're located, and also the reputation that our school and our students have. A lot of the companies and organizations in Nashville are allowing Vanderbilt students to do internships, or maybe it's research over at the Vanderbilt Medical Center. Next slide. So you can see here some of the companies that are located in Nashville. Some companies have moved their headquarters or set up a location in Nashville. The state of Tennessee has no state income tax, so there's a bit of an incentive for companies to be located here in the state. Nashville is known for a few different things. One of the major things being healthcare. Healthcare is actually the number one employer in the city. And so students who want to get involved in research, as I mentioned, the Vanderbilt Medical Center, while it is a separate entity from our school, it does present a lot of opportunities for students. I always like to tell the story that when I was a graduate student at Vanderbilt, I had surgery over at the Vanderbilt Medical Center. And my surgeon was the head of the biomedical engineering department at Vanderbilt. So there's definitely a relationship there. And that, of course, presents a lot of opportunity for students. Nashville is also the state capital of Tennessee. So students who want to get involved in government and politics, there's a lot of opportunities in the city because of that. Sports, we've got 3 professional sports teams, and then of course music. Nashville is known as the music city. So whether you want to engage in music as a actual performer, maybe you want to engage in music from the entertainment business side, or you just enjoy going and listening to music. Nashville has a lot of music going on. I like to say you could get out of class on a Thursday night, probably should be studying, but you could also go out to eat with your friends, and there'd probably be someone up on a stage playing guitar, and it creates a liveliness to our city that students really do enjoy. So a lot going on in Nashville, but then of course a lot going on campus at Vanderbilt. We have 4 undergraduate schools. If you were to apply, you would apply directly into one of these 4 schools. And we will admit you to one of the 4 schools. But like U Chicago, our schools are interdisciplinary. We want students to be taking classes, to be double majoring across schools, interacting with students from one of the other 4 schools. Largest is the College of Arts and Science. It houses about 40 of our 70 majors. Strong liberal arts curriculum, classes that are going to challenge you to critically think, reading intensive classes, writing intensive classes, which I know sounds really fun. But some of our more popular classes at Vanderbilt are located in that College of Arts and Science. The most popular class at Vanderbilt is called Elections, only offered every 4 years during US election years. We had over 1,000 students registered for that class this past fall, and there's a lot of discourse surrounding the current US election going on, but then also elections happening all across the world. And so it's a really neat class. John Meacham, famous author, teaches that class, and students from all across Vanderbilt, whether they're an engineer, a teacher, a musician, they'll take that class. School of Engineering, we have about 7 majors in our School of Engineering. Neat thing about our School of Engineering is you come in undeclared, and during your first year, you do what's called a module system. You take 3 classes from those 7 majors, and then after that freshman year, when you've been exposed to 3 of the different fields of engineering, is when you'll declare your major. And students seem to really enjoy that kind of exploratory period. Maybe right now in high school, you love math and science. You're like, I want to be an engineer. I know I want to study engineering, but I don't necessarily know if I want to do biomedical engineering, mechanical engineering, computer science. During that first year at Vanderbilt, you'll have that opportunity to do kind of some exploration within the fields. Peabody College is our College of Education and Human Development. There's kind of two sides to Peabody. There are these traditional education majors, elementary education, secondary education. They work very closely with the Metro Nashville public school system, where students have the opportunity to actually be in the classroom, have that experiential learning. The other side of Peabody is our most popular major at Vanderbilt called Human and Organizational Development. I like to describe it as kind of the people side of business, but really just understanding people within groups and teams. How do we get the most out of a group or a team? You'll be taking classes in organizational culture, organizational structure, organizational change. What happens when a organization loses their leader? What happens to the employees working in that company or organization? So um, probably one of the closer majors that we have to business. It's kind of more of a management degree. Students will oftentimes pair that with a minor in business or a minor in data science, maybe even a double major in economics, and then they'll go into consulting, investment banking, entrepreneurship, really any field of business. And lastly, we have our Blair School of Music. Smallest of those four undergraduate schools, only undergraduate students with a 4-to-1 student to faculty ratio. They get really close in that Blair School of Music. They like to call themselves the Blair family. So you'll get to know your faculty really well, and be able to take lessons outside of the classroom, participate in orchestras, ensembles, all of that fun stuff. So that's an overview of the four undergraduate schools, a lot of information online. So a lot going on in the classroom academically, but then outside of the classroom, we want students applying that knowledge to different experiences. And so a few years ago, our administration realized that there were certain majors that had built-in experiential learning. So I talked about the human and organizational development major. They've always had a built-in capstone project where students had to apply what they were learning in those classes to different experiences through typically an internship. And so the administration realized there was really great job placement from these programs. Why not make every student at Vanderbilt have some sort of experiential learning? And so they created a graduation requirement called Immersion Vanderbilt. And it falls within a few different categories. It could be an internship, it could be research, access to research opportunities and creative endeavors are all over not only Vanderbilt's campus, but then, of course, the medical center. It could be a study abroad. About 50% of our students will study abroad, 35 countries, all 7 continents. So a lot of different opportunities there. Or it could be creative expression, which is maybe like a performance that you put on campus, or maybe even a community service project within the city of Nashville. So it's not just the act of doing the study abroad, doing the research. You might write a paper, give a presentation, and then the name of your Immersion Vanderbilt project will go on your transcript when you graduate. So if you're applying to jobs, maybe you're applying to graduate school, you can send over your transcript and they'll see, okay, this student was a Spanish minor. They did a study abroad in Spain. This is how they connected that knowledge in the classroom to that experience. So we're looking forward to seeing, we've only had a few years of students graduating with these immersion projects, and we're looking forward to seeing what students continue to do. And then I mentioned earlier when I talked about academic review that balance is really important. That balance between your academics and then what goes on outside the classroom is very important to us. And so we want students to get involved in a variety of ways, whether that's student organizations, maybe one of our identity centers, cultural organizations, a lot of ways that students will get plugged in at Vanderbilt and find that balance. Sports, I mentioned we have the 3 professional sports teams in Nashville, but then a lot of athletics and sports going on campus. whether that be at the varsity club level or even just intramural sports. We like students that are getting involved and getting active outside of the classroom. If you're curious about any club or organization at Vanderbilt, we have a public-facing website called Anchor Link. Anchor, like you drop off of a boat into the ocean, Link. If you just Google Anchor Link at Vanderbilt, you'll be able to see all of our clubs, all of our student organizations. And I mentioned earlier that I recruit in India and South Asia. And when I travel to India, I always like to talk with students about our cricket club. I'll be honest, I don't really know much about our cricket club, but I do know that they like to get together. They like to have a lot of food and watch matches together. And it sounds like a lot of fun to me. And so I always refer students to that Anchor Link website. Go look up our cricket club, and even the captain or the president of the group, their name and their email address will be listed on that site. And you're welcome to reach out to them and say, hey, I just listened to the Vanderbilt rep talk on a Duolingo webinar about the cricket club. I'd love to learn more about the organization at Vanderbilt. What kind of things do you do? And I also encourage that when it comes to our club sports. Ask them, how competitive is it? What's the time commitment look like at your university? And that'll give you a better idea for that club at Vanderbilt. Um, I'm not going to kind of get too much into financial aid, but need-based financial aid does play a big role in Vanderbilt's admissions process, and it's through a program called Opportunity Vanderbilt. We meet 100% of your demonstrated need. We don't package our need-based aid with loans, and so you can see here the range of awards among international first-year students receiving aid this past or for this actually this upcoming fall. So. And we want to be able to meet students where they're at, allow Vanderbilt to be accessible to students from a wide range of socioeconomic backgrounds, and we're able to do that through our Opportunity Vanderbilt program. And then along with our need-based aid, we do have three full tuition merit scholarships. You do have to first apply to Vanderbilt in order to apply for our merit scholarships. So once you submit the application via the common application or the coalition application, you'll then have access to apply for our three merit scholarships. Each one kind of has a different criteria. You're welcome to go to our website and look at the signature merit scholarships, and you'll kind of see, generally speaking, what scholarship committees are looking for each of those. But each one kind of has a different student that they're looking for. Between the three, they're awarded to around 240 students every year. Ingram Scholarship Program, generally speaking, looking for students who maybe want to go into business or entrepreneurship, or maybe be a lawyer or a doctor, but you want to give back to the community through your profession. Cornelius Vanderbilt Scholarship, best way of describing that is a high achiever in the classroom, high achiever outside the classroom, all around kind of our title scholarship. And then Chancellor Scholarship, students who maybe have brought people together. Maybe you've bridged gaps in your community, brought people together through a club, a student organization, maybe a faith-based group outside of school, and you've kind of brought people together that way. So that's kind of generally what each of those are looking for. Connect with us on social media. That was a really brief overview of Vanderbilt, but our admissions Instagram has all sorts of great content. You can do a virtual tour and kind of get a feel for our different green spaces. We also have a 3-to-1 squirrel to student ratio on campus, and so you can kind of get a feel for all of the trees. Our campus is a registered arboretum, and of course, it houses all of those squirrels. And then contact a student. So you can go to contact a student and even filter by where a student might be coming from, what they're studying, what school they're in at Vanderbilt, and reach out to them. Just as I referred you to reach out to someone based on a student organization, you're welcome to reach out to someone, one of our current students, via the contact a student link. So I think I'm going to turn it back over to John, and we'll take a few questions.
Thank you both so much. I can say from personal experience, I've spent time on both of these campuses, and they are both not only gorgeous campuses, but I can't believe that you could call that your home for 4 years. living in two of the coolest cities in America. And of course, as you all heard, the academic offerings, the level of instruction, the incredible faculty that you're learning from, but the fact that both these universities prioritize relationships with faculty and really having them as mentors to help guide you through that academic experience and through life and beyond. It's really unique and unique to these two schools. So thank you both for your time today. We have a few questions that came in. The first one's around financial aid and scholarships, and I know Ethan just explained how that works for Vanderbilt, but Annalise, if you wouldn't mind just explaining a little bit about how financial aid works at U Chicago, specifically for international students.
Yeah, absolutely. So, U Chicago also meets 100% of demonstrated financial need for all of our admitted students. That is regardless of citizenship. So, no matter who you are or where you're coming in from, you could receive up to full cost of attendance in financial aid to U Chicago. So, our need-based financial aid program is really robust. Everyone should apply for need-based financial aid when they apply for admissions. So, go ahead and get that done as you're putting together your admissions application to U Chicago so that our financial aid team can put together that package and communicate that to you as soon as you receive your admissions decision. So you have all of that information available to you. We also offer a number of merit scholarships, like Ethan was detailing as well. The difference being that at U Chicago, there is no separate merit scholarship application. So that could just be a nice sort of bonus surprise scholarship that you would receive with your admissions decision. You have, for all intents and purposes, already applied for those scholarships by putting together a strong admissions application. So your funding can come from either of those two places.
Wonderful. Thank you. Ethan, any other details from financial aid that you didn't cover initially you want to fill back in or okay.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Golden. All right. Another question around what is your Duolingo English test requirement to reach or to gain admission? Let's start with you, Annalise.
Yeah, U Chicago does not require any kind of English proficiency exam. If you want to send us one, if you want to send us that stellar rockstar Duolingo English test score, please feel free to do so. We love to see those strong scores coming in, but it is not required. We expect that students will write their essays in their own voice, showing off the proficiency they have in English, and that is sufficient for us.
One follow-up for you there. You said strong score. So if I'm a student out there and I've got a 130, a 140, like, is that kind of what you're thinking? What would be kind of maybe a little bit of a like, maybe send it if it's above this line?
Yeah, there's a real firm cutoff there. A 140 is great, a 130 is great. If you're in doubt, it may be a better idea not to send the score, because if that score is kind of showing us a level of proficiency that is a little bit lower, a little bit softer than you're showing us in your essays, it's better to just let your writing speak for itself.
Wonderful. Thank you. Ethan, what about for Vanderbilt?
Yeah, so we do require English proficiency, and for us it's a 130 is not a hard and fast, but it's our kind of general rule that we would like to see as far as Duolingo goes, 130 and above.
Wonderful. And again, for you students out there, one of the big benefits of the Duolingo English test is that not only is it a proficiency score, but there is a writing sample that they see, and there is a little bit of an interview component that they see from some of the questions that you've answered during the test. So it's a great chance for admissions officers to get a feel beyond that static number of you're going to be fine here. You're going to be able to handle the rigor of the classes, the social side, and all of that as well. Two other questions. Curious what advice you have for finding colleges, finding the right fit, applying, kind of anything in that world where our students are right now and they're getting their journey started to search for colleges. And so feel free, either one of you, both of you, just any advice around that?
I can start on. I'll say, be cautious of rankings and maybe reputation and what this person is doing. I think really an important part of this process is fit, is finding a place where you are going to be successful. And so I think a lot of students might get caught up in, well, it's this one is ranked higher than this one, and maybe it's not the best fit for you. And so finding that place where you can strike that balance where you're going to be happy and healthy. And I think if you are happy and healthy, you'll be successful in the classroom. And then, a lot of opportunities will come from that. So, navigate this process from your lens and what you want in a college. Maybe create a list of the top three things that you want in a school, whether that be size or location, some of those different criterias, and then narrow it down from there.
That's great advice. Thank you. Annalise, anything to fill it in?
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with what Ethan said. I would also just add that once you are putting together those college lists and you're having those conversations and reflections with yourself about what you're looking for in a college, make sure to keep the application driven by who you are and what you're looking for as well. I think a lot of students will identify colleges that they're interested in and then say, okay, who do I need to be and what do I need to put together to make myself the student that they're looking for? When in reality, you should be approaching the application, approaching this process as getting to know yourself, communicating yourself to us, and you will find the place where you belong and you will find the community that is the best fit for who you authentically are.
Wonderful. And our last topic is just on advice for these students when it comes time to enter university, whether that's here in the United States or somewhere else. What type of advice do you have for making that transition? As that is a big transition.
Yeah, I can start here. It's going to be a big transition. It is going to be uncomfortable. That is okay. My biggest piece of advice is just say yes. There will be opportunities that will present themselves to you. You will meet people who ask if you want to be friends with them. You will see clubs advertised that, kind of spark your interest. You will see resources that are offered to you. Take advantage of all of those, explore any of those niches. You will be exhausted and you will be uncomfortable in a lot of moments on campus, but the more that you kind of explore what it is out there and you find where it is that you fit and what kinds of things best serve you, it'll all work out.
I love that. And Ethan, final thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll say orientation is important. And I think it's easy to and look, it's like drinking through a fire hose. It's going to be a lot of information. But I think if you can at least jot down, okay, this office does this, and this is who I go to when I need this. I think, you're sitting there in orientation and you're like, oh, I'm not going to use that, or I don't need that, or I'm never going to need that. And then you might be, a couple months in, or maybe even a couple years in to your time at that school, and you're like, actually, you know what? I could use the tutoring center, or I could use the counseling center. And those are really great resources that are included in your tuition and fees that you are paying for and that you should be taking advantage of. So, as best as you can during orientation, I know it's going to be overwhelming and you might even be jet lagged, but try to get as much information from those couple of days as possible, and that'll really help you later on in your time at your school.
That is wonderful advice. And yeah, students, I'm going to piggyback off that. Reminder of that is one of the things that I think the US does so well in the college system is that there are resources beyond. You just heard a couple counseling, tutoring. There's just all of these layers of support that sometimes you don't even realize are there until you get on campus. But I think that's a major part of helping find that fit and making that transition. Thank you to both of our speakers, Annalise and Ethan, today for sharing your expertise with us and with the students. A reminder that we have a few other webinars coming up, so make sure you sign up for the Study Canada, the Big Ten, or the two-year colleges. And best of luck in your college journey process. Thanks again.